Speak up, horror people. Today I brought 3 scary stories about school lockdowns that will make your hair stand on end. Are you ready to feel that chill down your spine? So let's go on this dark journey. Hey channel guys, welcome to another scary video. Are you ready to learn about 3 sinister stories that happened inside real schools? Get ready because terror will take over this chilling narrative. The afternoon at Blackwood Primary School began in an ordinary and peaceful manner. Children were playing in the courtyard, teachers were preparing their classes, and the atmosphere seemed serene. Around 2 p.m., during Mrs. Campbell's math class, a strange noise echoed through the empty hallway. Initially, it was ignored as a problem with the structure of the building. However, as the sound intensified, it became disturbing. Students began to whisper nervously, and uneasy glances were exchanged around the classroom. When they least expected it, the lights blinked frantically and went out completely. Desperation gripped those present when they realized they were trapped inside the dark rooms, locked by the inexplicable malfunction of the building's automatic security doors. The silence was deafening, only broken by the distant echo of mysterious laughter that seemed to slowly approach. Minutes felt like hours in the oppressive darkness of Blackwood. "You have a beautiful home." It was a rainy night at Brookfield Vocational School, known for its Gothic architecture and dark history. As the storm raged outside, students prepared for a long night of studying for finals. Around 11 p.m., a strange metallic noise echoed through the empty corridors of the century-old building. Initially attributed to the storm's strong winds, the sound persisted in a disjointed and frightening manner. The students gathered in the library began to look at each other with worried expressions, feeling fear rising in their hearts. Suddenly, all the lamps exploded in an explosion of sparks, plunging the room into total darkness. A harrowing presence seemed to hover in the air, charged with static electricity. Muffled screams echoed through the desert corridors, and shuffling footsteps could be heard approaching quickly. The smell of mold and rot permeated the air as shapeless shadows danced on the painted walls in the rays that briefly illuminated the cobwebbed window. The brave who dared to investigate came across enigmatic marks, carved deep into the old wood of the locked doors of the old abandoned laboratory. My name is God. Terror had materialized in Brookfield. At Blackwood, students report hearing mysterious voices echoing through the empty hallways after hours. A student, Rebecca, who used to stay at school late to participate in the drama club, witnessed a disturbing event. As he rehearsed his scene in one of the dark auditoriums, the lights began to flicker intermittently, creating dancing shadows on the wall. The smell of sulfur filled the air, and a cold sensation ran down her spine, sending her into a deep sense of discomfort. Suddenly, indecipherable messages were written in blurred letters on the mirrors of the dressing room, where he was preparing for his solitary performance. The words seemed to beg for help, but they made no sense. A constant murmur filled her ears, and she felt as if multiple presences were watching her intently. When she rushed to leave the auditorium, the exit doors refused to open, trapping her in an environment that seemed increasingly hostile and unsettling. The experience left deep marks on her tormented mind, and since then the shadow of that night haunts every corner of Rebecca's dreams. At Pinecrest, a modern and minimalist architecture school, the lockdown incident took on a disturbing turn. During the morning break, the students were surprised by an absolute silence that hovered over the busy courtyard. The cheerful voices of colleagues abruptly disappeared, leaving a distressing void of sound. The teachers, initially unaware of the change in atmosphere, soon noticed something wrong when they tried to open the doors that gave access to the school corridors, and found them sealed as if fused by a supernatural force. Desperation began to set in as frantic attempts to communicate with management or authorities failed miserably. A dense fog began to emerge from the ceiling vents, slowly enveloping the courtyard in a suffocating and oppressive atmosphere. Students reported fleeting glimpses of shadowy figures wandering through upper-floor windows, indistinct faces watching them with blank stares. The distorted echo of children's laughter echoed through the empty hallways, as cryptic messages appeared written in chalk on the blackboards of the unoccupied classroom. Time seemed to have lost its meaning at Pinecrest, during that otherworldly lockdown. At Brookfield Vocational School, during a rainy day with dense fog enveloping the building, students began reporting unsettling sightings in the corridors away from the biology wing. One student, Emily, said that when venturing through the dark labyrinths in search of her forgotten material, she came across strange red stains that looked like fresh blood but disappeared without a trace when touched. The distorted and unintelligible whispers echoed around her, making her feel like she wasn't alone in those dimly lit hallways. As Emily turned a shadowy corner near the abandoned locker rooms, she briefly caught sight of a dark, shapeless figure moving quickly toward the back of one of the metal lockers. The sharp sound of something scratching metal surfaces resonated in the damp, heavy air. A bitter smell of decay filled his nostrils as a chill ran down his spine. The hostile and malignant presence was palpable in that area previously considered safe by Brookfield students. Fear slowly took hold of Emily's courage, and she could barely contain her sobs as she tried to find her way back to the safety of the school's main courtyard. During Blackwood's gloomy night, a group of students participating in an extracurricular photography project decided to explore the darkest corners of the building in search of unique angles for their artistic records. Ignoring the staff's veiled warnings about certain restricted areas, they delved into the abandoned corridors of the East Wing, where previous years had seen dark periods of unexplained violence. With flickering flashlights and cameras ready to capture the macabre essence of the place, the young photographers discovered a secret room in the school's dusty attic. There, shelves filled with old books and faded photographs revealed sinister secrets about Blackwood's dark past. An oppressive feeling spread throughout the room, full of unrevealed mysteries, as shapeless shadows danced on the whitewashed walls with strangely familiar patterns. The air was filled with the sickly aroma of mustiness and despair. In the center of the room, a blackboard covered in ancient runes and disturbing drawings seemed to pulse with evil energy. It was then that an invisible presence hissed in his ears, "You shouldn't be here." In a collective shiver, the students saw the words being written slowly in a dark, sticky substance that emerged from the blackboard itself, as if the entity imprisoned there was trying to warn them before it was too late. "Please get me out of here." It was the distressing whisper that echoed in the ears of Pinecrest students during nighttime history classes. The frightening reports multiplied among the students, who said they felt an icy shiver run down their spines as the voice in their ears asked for help. On a particularly dark night, a student dared to stay in the classroom after hours to review his studies, and it was then that the unknown presence manifested itself with disturbing intensity. A thin spectral mist began to surround the empty desks, causing the notebooks and books to shake slightly. The air became heavy, as if an invisible entity crossed the physical space of the classroom. Indistinct words were murmured around him, echoing a desperate cry for help. The windows, once sealed by the weight of dusty curtains, now banged violently as if begging for release. The feeling of being accompanied by something beyond the visible made the student dare to question his sanity in the midst of an environment filled with fear and growing anguish. When he finally ran for help in the empty corridors of the school, in the yellow light of the old streetlights in the courtyard, the words continued to resonate in his mind, "Please, get me out of here." The night before the fateful day of lockdown at Brookfield was marked by inexplicable events that struck fear into the hearts of school staff. As the clock in the main tower chimed the hour, each chime was slower and more distorted than the last, creating a sense of despair in the air. At around 3:33 a.m., a night watchman reported witnessing unsettling shadows roaming the empty hallways, moving erratically and silently. The frigid air was permeated with whispering murmurs, and sickly sweet odor hung around the school building. Witnesses claimed to have seen the conventional luminous letters on Brookfield's facade mysteriously rearrange themselves to form indecipherable words that looked like ominous warnings. An oppressive sense of supernatural presence drove employees to seek refuge in their quarters, as an aura of dread slowly spread through the dimly lit hallways. When morning came, the clock started again as if nothing had happened. But those who witnessed that night knew that something evil had awakened at Brookfield. As we close these chilling stories of school lockdowns, it is essential to reflect on the mysteries that permeate the shadows of educational institutions. The night covered by the storm carries with it ancient secrets and indescribable entities that awaken amid the cold walls of abandoned schools. The distorted echo of silent screams reverberates in the deserted hallways as dancing shadows materialize in the empty room. Forbidden knowledge and macabre destinies traced in the past intertwine with the present, creating a suffocating atmosphere of imminent terror. Each childish laugh echoes like an ominous warning of the hidden presence that lurks in the darkest corners of school buildings. At the end of this dive into the bowels of fear, let us always remember curiosity can uncover unimaginable secrets, but it can also awaken forces beyond our understanding. Keep an eye out for the signs, and do not underestimate the power of darkness that dwells beneath the veil of education. Prepare to face the unknown, and always be ready for terrifying new discoveries. May courage be with those who ventured down dark paths in search of the truth. Or perhaps they prefer to remain in the safety of ignorance. If you enjoyed these macabre stories and want more horror content like this, be sure to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell to receive all notifications. Share this video with your brave friends who also love a good dose of fear. I hope you enjoyed this dive into the shadows of the unknown. Don't forget to like to strengthen our horror channel, and share with that brave friend who also appreciates a good scare. A dark hug and see you next time.